We have lots of things to talk about today.
Sharp as a tack, as always, Geoff, on this fine morning, on this first day of our 251st year as a country. Okay, let's get into our hot topics, Geoff.
Wait, is today the official 251st year?
Well, we're beginning the 251st year, right?
I don't
Isn't
know
that what I'm saying?
I
It's the
never
first
understand
day?
how this works. Is this not the 250th year that we're beginning now?
Okay, so on July 4th, 1776, right? That was the first day. Like, it's year zero, but they
Yeah.
are beginning their first year. It's
So
the first day of their first
1777
year.
was the first anniversary.
That's correct. But on July 5th, 1777, that was the first day of the country's second year. Thus, today is the first day of the country's 251st year.
I don't think that's how that works.
Do you want me to say it again? This is like, how do you think it works? Please explain to me.
I just don't think that's how it works. That's all.
It's not okay. I don't fuck with it. Justin.
And I'm completely normal, Geoff.
And
welcome to Bants.
And my alternative was I have been marked safe from America 250.
Oh my god. Okay, as somebody who was like not far from the epicenter of nonsense, I need to know what was going on.
Well, I was not far, but I also was intentionally not a participant in the celebration. So I was mostly just hanging out in my apartment, hanging out with my dog, Ellie, and making sure that she was, not super anxious and safe during all the fireworks because she does not like fireworks. So we were mostly just hanging out.
So you had to wait until like midnight basically for the fireworks to start?
Yeah, well, there were no fireworks until after midnight. Well, okay, in DC, every single 4th of July, there's fireworks kind of all over the place all night. So, like, there were fireworks happening even earlier than midnight for sure. And Ellie was not responding well to those. But the official ones did not begin until midnight. And by that time, I was fully asleep. So, like, I don't even know. I mean, I slept through it. I'm, like, far enough away from the mall that I couldn't probably hear them, like, at least super loudly from where I live. But I hear that there were lots of them. That's basically the extent of my knowledge.
Sounds like you don't know too much then.
I don't. I'm reading the same headlines as you. And like I said, I'm staying away intentionally.
I think it's probably for the best.
Based on the reports, would you have wanted to be there?
No. Okay, I'm sorry. These people sitting on the field while it's actively like raining and thundering and there's lightning, yelling at the security guards and police officers telling them to evacuate. That this is liberal nonsense from the liberals in the weather service. Like, what?
Really is a microcosm of our country, like really captures all the complexities. It's great.
Wow.
Geoff, more importantly, Madonna released her album Confessions 2 this weekend, and that is our main topic today. So can't wait to get into that later. Gonna be a banger conversation.
Later.
But how's your weekend been? Have you had any July 4th parties, fireworks, anything like that?
It's been pretty good. I went to a little picnic on Friday, and then yesterday I went to the beach all day with my mom and my aunt, and we just had a very chill day at the beach. It was lovely. It was so hot, so humid. And then Brandy and Denise stopped by.
Nice. That's
nice. And they sat with us for like an hour or so.
That's great.
Yeah, fun. It was cute.
Fun stuff. And I will be up in Connecticut next weekend, so we will be able to record our next episode then in person. Can't wait.
We're going to get tactile. Sitting across from each other, we're going to hold hands, tell each other our deepest, darkest secrets, and then have roast chicken and watch Ghost Hunters.
Is that a reference to something that I don't know?
God, you have to watch Roni. Why do you disappoint me like this every time?
I'm constantly disappointing you on the pod. It's
about Roni,
kind of a recurring bit.
You need to watch it.
It's just like, it's part of my personality,
Yeah, I guess so.
The constant disappointment.
We have lots of things to talk about today.
Sharp as a tack, as always, Geoff, on this fine morning, on this first day of our 251st year as a country. Okay,
Oh my
let's
God.
get into our hot topics, Geoff.
Wait, is today the official 251st year?
Well, we're beginning the 251st year, right?
I don't
Isn't
know.
that what I'm saying?
I
It's the
never
first day.
understand how this works. Is this not the 250th year that we're beginning now?
Okay, so on July 4th, 1776, right? That was the first day. Like, it's year zero, but they
Yeah.
are beginning their first year. It's
So
the first day of their first
1777
year.
was the first anniversary.
That's correct. But on July 5th, 1777, that was the first day of the country's second year. Thus, today is the first day of the country's 251st year.
I don't think that's how that works.
Do you want me to say it again? This is like, how do you think it works? Please explain to me.
I just don't think that's how it works. That's all.
Okay. All right.
I'm kidding.
Sure, Geoff. Okay. Jeff's doing the actual live action, doing the math in her head meme right now. So it's all so mysterious, this mathematics. You know?
I don't get it.
Okay.
It's tough.
Let's hit one of the hot topics that we touched on last week and that I had to come in and post and clarify in an editor's note, which is about the film Artificial. This is
hate to do that.
You know, I hate to come in as an editor. Artificial is, of course, the next movie from Luca Guadagnino, who's one of our favorite directors here on the show. This is a biopic about Sam Altman, the founder of OpenAI. Now, if you didn't listen to last week's episode, this film was dropped by Amazon MGM following a huge investment from Amazon into OpenAI. Amazon basically said, we are not the right studio to be putting this out because of our relationship with OpenAI. And it was unclear whether any other studio would pick it up or if this would become lost media. After we recorded the episode, but before it came out, news broke that Neon has picked up Artificial. This initially broke through Matt Bellany, who hosts The Town, the podcast that was famously featured on The Studio.
I thought you said Bill Bellamy, like the comedian from the 90s. I was like, what? I'm like, he has a podcast?
Matt Bellany is the name of the guy. And he hosts The Town. He broke the news, and now there's been an official announcement from Neon that they have picked up Artificial. So, Geoff, thoughts on this pickup by Neon?
Oh, I love to see it. We don't want lost media. What's your favorite piece of, or what's a piece of lost media that you really want to see?
Oh, I don't know. I mean, I have like a curiosity about the Batwoman movie with Ruby Rose. I really do.
Oh.
There's no way it's good, right? It's got to be terrible.
Yeah, it has to be really, really bad.
And then there was a near lost media situation with Coyote versus Acme, which is actually coming out this year, which was a part of the... You're unfamiliar with this?
Yeah. Coyote versus Acme?
Yeah, it's like a Looney Tunes
Coyote?
Yes. So it's a Looney Tunes
Coyote?
live action film that was filmed maybe like 2022 or so, like a very long time ago. And in the Warner Brothers Discovery merger, this was one of the films that they wrote off. They said, we're not putting this out anymore. We're going to make it a tax write-off. But then there was some uproar surrounding this because there are some pretty well-known actors that are featured in this film. Like I think some pretty well-known comedians. It's like a live action.
Paul Rudd?
I don't know. Let me look it up. I know that Will Forte's in it.
Oh, I love Will Forte. I was just watching I Think He Should Leave the other day, and I watched the episode where he comes on as the man who's trying to get revenge on him. Never mind.
Okay, so we got Will Forte, we got Lana Condor, we have John Cena, Martha Kelly, one of your faves.
Love her.
So this was already like filmed a while back. Yeah, in 2022. It's filmed in 2022, got canned in the Warner Brothers Discovery merger, was kind of in limbo for a long time. And then it got picked up by this tiny distributor, Catch Up Entertainment, which I have personally never heard of.
Right.
And it's finally coming out this year in August. So that one's technically not lost media because it's coming out, but I'm very curious to watch that one for sure.
I would like to see the pilot of Game of Thrones.
Oh, the original pilot.
Yeah.
Before they reshot and recast and et cetera, et cetera.
And I'd also like to see the Naomi Watts-led Game of Thrones spinoff.
From High Valyria, right?
Yeah.
That would be an interesting one.
I think it was called something like Moonstone or something like that. Or Red Moon, Blood Moon, something like it.
I'm sure the original Game of Thrones pilot is like complete garbage. It has to be, right?
Yeah, but I want to see it.
I'm curious what the Naomi Watts show looks like. That could be great or terrible.
I love Naomi Watts.
She's great. Mulholland Drive.
Mulholland Drive,
yeah.
Exactly. She was so good in that movie. I think about that movie often after watching it twice last month.
You watched it twice? Like you watched it again last month?
Yeah, because I was like, I feel like I missed things. I need to go back and see this again.
Okay.
And it turns out I don't really think I did. I just don't think that
It's just that
Finch
weird.
makes sense. Yeah.
I mean, David Lynch, he's an interesting guy. We'll have to
Lynch
have a
is what I
David
meant.
Lynch episode.
Well, we'll see.
Okay, well, it's back to Neon and Artificial.
Okay.
I think that there is an impulse to be like, Neon is the new A24, all hail Neon, studio of kings, like they're the best.
Studio of Kings.
I don't know if that's the case, right? I mean, this is just like a savvy business move at some level.
Yeah.
I think that on a big level, it's good that we do have a distributor and a producer that is willing to pick up a film like this and put it out, right? We're not in a political climate where things are so bad that nobody is willing to put out a film like this, right? So that's a positive. But I also think this is just a savvy business decision by Neon, who has had a history recently of making really savvy business decisions, right? They've had many Best Picture nominees and a couple of Best Picture winners in the past few years. Anora, Parasite were both Neon pickups.
I didn't know Parasite was Neon.
Yeah.
Great film.
Great film. They're picking up the Palme d'Or winners from Cannes from the last few years. I think that they're just making smart decisions here. And they already said, I think in the Deadline article that confirmed this, Deadline already said that it will be competing at the Academy Awards. So like you can imagine Neon doing this huge advertising campaign of like, it's the film that big tech didn't want you to see. Like, you know.
Yeah.
So I'm curious to see how this turns out. Love Guadagnino. Love a lot of the stars of this film. Andrew Garfield.
Pink.
Sure.
It's another. Okay, never mind.
It's another reference. It's okay. Yeah. We get it.
Love Guadagnino. Love Garfield. Love Pink.
I don't know that I personally am like gonna make my personality Neon now. You know, that's how I feel.
Well, what's gonna replace A24?
Well, I think nothing can really replace A24. You know, I'm still a fan of their films. I'm gonna see The Invite later today. Excited for that.
Oh, no one invited me.
Oh, you were gonna fly down in your PJ to hit up the theater in DC?
I'm gonna use a chopper. I'm not wasting the PJ fuel.
You're taking an Uber chopper, just a.
I'm taking a Blade.
I forgot that's what it's called. Uber for choppers.
Uber for chopper.
So great for Guadagnino. Looking forward to the awards run for this film. Should be really interesting.
Should indeed.
Speaking of interesting, Geoff, you seen these two scallywags that climbed the Empire State Building?
Boy, have I.
Okay, quick recap, and then I'm very excited to hear your opinion on this. A couple of days ago, two climbers, Angela Nicolau, and Ivan Kuznetsov, climbed the building illegally, the Empire State Building illegally. And when at the top, they flew a banner that said, "When the power of love overcomes the love of power, the world will know peace." And then they got engaged. And there was many a picture taken of them by news choppers. There was also some pictures taken by the climbers themselves on the top of the building with the engagement ring. Angela had her nails done, so she knew that this was going to happen. She was ready for it. She climbed the Empire State Building with engagement nails. Pretty crazy. Afterwards, they were arrested and charged with multiple crimes, including burglary, reckless endangerment, and criminal mischief.
Okay, but I want to know what were they charged for burglary for?
It was a whole operation that they had to get onto the building so they could climb it. So they actually snuck in the day before, hid after the building closed. Then after everybody was out of the building, they kind of like emerged from this like hatch, like this emergency area, and they climbed the building. So that's like burglary, right? They were present in the building after everybody had left. So I think that's burglary.
I didn't know that was considered burglary. I thought to burgle, one had to steal.
I don't know. I couldn't tell you. Maybe they stole something?
Were stealing the environment of safety and control. Delete that. Yeah, these two, I kind of think it's pretty cool, and I also kind of think it's pretty tough for straight guys everywhere. You got a lot to live up to now. It's real tough. He's making you all look stupid.
But gay guys, you're like, you don't have to compete with this guy. Is that what you're saying?
Correct.
Okay.
We're not doing that for engagement. I don't really think engagement photos and opportunities are quite the same in that world.
I see.
What do you think of this?
I mean, yeah, I was curious to know what you would think, because I feel like this is, on one level, there's the kind of like, why are you doing all this? Like, why are you disrupting the peace here? But I do think that the pictures that came out of this they're
pretty great.
Sadly, hard
Very cool.
as fuck.
Yeah, very cool.
The adult part of my brain is like, you guys shouldn't have done that. That's very dangerous. But then I like see the pictures and I'm like, damn, they're both pretty hot,
Yeah.
pretty hard pictures.
Yeah.
Even like after they were arrested and they like kissed, when they were in custody and handcuffs, I was like, fuck. I'll never be this cool in my entire life.
Right.
So,
I love that.
there's something to criminals and the sex appeal of criminals. You know what I mean? And this
There
is
really
like,
is.
in terms of like the potential danger that this puts people in, it's like on the low end of the spectrum.
What if they
crime
fell?
wise? You know what I mean? Well, that's what I mean. If they fell, the worst case scenario is they fall. Obviously, they're risking their own lives and potentially traumatizing people that have to witness it. But that's like the worst case scenario.
What if they fall on top of them? Bodies falling from the sky, Justin? Could kill somebody from below.
Of course, yeah. I mean, that's the worst case scenario. And
Yeah.
I think that would take a bit of a freak accident.
Although I do kind of feel like they were probably, because the building has all those step backs,
Yeah.
they probably would have just landed on another part of the building if they
Yeah.
did fall.
It would be like a freak accident if one of them fell and then fell onto one other person. you
Yeah.
know? I think that more likely they would fall and sadly die and perhaps traumatize some folks and
Yeah.
some first responders that were up there to try to get them down, which is not nothing, and it is potentially dangerous. But in terms of the big crimes, this is not, there were no weapons involved. It reminds me of that guy that like walked a tightrope between the Twin Towers. Do you remember that guy?
I do. There's a documentary about him on Netflix, I think like 5 years ago, 4 or 5 years.
I think it was like an Oscar nominated documentary. I forget what it was called.
Me too, but I think that he did that with permission.
I think it was like pretty illegal, but
Okay.
Editor Justin will come in to confirm.
Okay.
What's up, y'all? The documentary that we're thinking of was actually Man on Wire, and this is a 2008 documentary film that's actually free to stream on YouTube right now if you want to check it out. It chronicles Philippe Petit, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, his high wire walk between the Twin Towers in 1974. So this was certainly an illicit high wire walk. It was not legal, and he was arrested, but it won the Academy Award for Best Documentary. Anyways, let's get back to the show. I think that these climbers actually were featured in a Netflix documentary. So
Really?
in the initial reporting, there was a lot of potential scandal about whether or not Netflix was aware of this.
Scandal.
Because obviously, if Netflix were aware of this as like a promotional tactic for a new documentary, not a great look for Netflix.
Listen, you know what? I would have been like, I don't know anything. If these guys did their own thing. It just so happens. So wait, so these are like career, like kind of trespasser, climber, like stunt folks, yeah?
Yes, they're climbers. Yeah, they're career climbers. I don't know how often they have like trespassed and climbed on like buildings before.
What
but
about the Arch in St. Louis? I think they should do that one.
that one feels more difficult, right? Like there's just less to hold on to. There's less purchase there. Yeah,
That would be very impressive.
very scary. Very scary.
Very scary.
Geoff, one more question on this topic.
Yeah.
If you were to climb the Empire State Building, which of course you would not, but let's say you would,
Never. I hate the heights.
what would be on your flag? What phrase would you use on your flag at the top of the Empire State Building?
I love to climb.
I would say Stream Brat by Charlie XCX.
You really would. Lime green flag, obviously.
Obviously.
I think I would actually put on my flag, be gay and do crimes.
Oh, that's pretty good. That's a classic.
Right?
Classic for a
I think
reason.
that's a good one. Rainbow flag, obviously.
Obviously.
And we got to use white words.
I did see some tweets or like an Instagram post that was like, and their allies, they waited until after Pride was over to do this. We love them.
That is really funny. Damn.
Yeah. I mean, sometimes you gotta side with the criminals. And in this case, we are. Shout out Angela and Ivan. Congratulations on your engagement. We love to see it.
We love them.
Next topic, Geoff. Physical media. You and I would say, are
We love
defenders.
physical media.
We love physical media. And I have some bad news for you.
Okay.
Sony, of course, the Japanese company that's behind the PlayStation,
PlayStation.
has announced that they are discontinuing physical discs for new games starting in 2028. This is all PlayStation games will no longer be available in a physical form.
Unacceptable.
Starting in 2028.
Unacceptable conditions.
Geoff, I have a question for you.
Yeah.
Have you purchased a physical game in the last 10 years?
Yeah.
What you buying?
Well, Mario Party. I bought Mario Party like 11,000 or whatever number we're on now.
Yeah, I think The newest one was just like Mario Party Jamboree or something like that.
Okay.
Might have been that one. Yeah, I mean, I'm a little bit surprised at this, but I will say that like gamers largely are buying things digitally now.
I know, but what happens when it all goes down, you guys? We gotta think about this.
I totally agree with you. And I am personally somebody who like buys the physical version whenever I can just because I like to have it and like,
As evidenced by your very full bookcase over here.
exactly. I just like to have physical
You
items.
like to collect.
I think physical stuff is cool.
Tactile.
I will say that a lot of games that are like AAA games, so like high budget, large scale games that are like $70, $80, these games are now pushing like 100 gigabytes of storage. So like the discs that games actually come on cannot physically fit these games anymore. So
Okay.
there is like serious issues about offering physical versions of these games because there is no medium that can fit that, right? Like the best you could come up with is maybe like a USB stick, but of course flash storage is like in very short supply right now and is very expensive.
Of course, I knew that.
Because of the AI boom. This is like a whole thing. Chip shortages, storage shortages. This is like what's causing the increases in prices of all kinds of gadgets, and Apple and Nintendo and Microsoft and Sony have all increased in prices.
It's a great day to be invested in the Mag 7, I'll tell you that.
So this is a real problem. And not to mention the fact that games are often updated after release, right? Now that the internet is like a constant presence in people's lives, like almost every single game you can buy requires an update on day one. So even the game that is present on the physical medium is not the game that you play because you have to, before playing it, download the day one patch and play it anyways. So this is a little bit different than like film. Films, for the most part, you put it out, it doesn't get updated, right? Unless it's like Star Wars and you're George Lucas and you're updating the special effects in the prequel trilogy or something. You don't need an updated version of your Blu-ray or whatever.
Right.
It's not the same as music, right? Although we have seen with people like Kanye West, they do actually update the album.
And Beyoncé.
Afterwards. Right. Beyonce is a good example as well.
Renaissance.
While we do see that like here and there in other art forms, it's really something that is 100% in games that is not in other art forms. I do absolutely sympathize with the need for physical media. And I think especially in terms of like secondhand sales, this completely kills secondhand, right?
Well, I think that's part of their strategy too, honestly, because they know that there's a huge market and they're not tapped into it at all. So thereby eliminating the market, that market demand is going to switch over to what they're providing.
Well, I think that that's a little bit misguided. I don't disagree with you, but I think I think it's misguided on Sony's part.
Oh.
And I think that it's misguided because we are seeing that young people are buying fewer games, right? And they're playing like one or two games in their entire lifetime. And those games are like Fortnite, which is free to play, or Minecraft, or Roblox, free to play. And the reason why they're playing those is because they're free, they're easy to access, and their friends are playing them. So like if you want people to buy more games and like support this ecosystem, the way to do it isn't to like lock every paid game behind like a digital storefront where you have to pay full price, right? Is to offer used games. Like when you and I were kids, we would go into Blockbuster and rent games and try them all out, or we would go into like GameStop and find like a used game for like $10, right?
GameStop, Funko Land.
And that's how we got our like omnivorous appetite for different games. And like,
omnivorous. What a great usage of that word, Justin.
Quick SAT word tossed in there. I just feel like this is like bad for the long-term lifetime of games as we know it as consumers, you know? And it's better for like these mega corporations that have these giant forever games like Fortnite, which personally I'm not as big of a fan of.
I have only played Fortnite once and I found it confusing. I said I'm too old for this.
Yeah.
And I logged out.
It's like a completely different type of game. And it's really more like a social platform for people more than it is like a game. I think that's why people play it for the most part.
Yeah, it's definitely about the social connection.
I also want to mention alongside this that this is happening right after an announcement that over 550 Studio Canal films, Studio Canal, of course, a distributor of films, have been removed from Sony's digital media library. So even people who purchased these films like to keep, not just renting, but people who purchase these films via Sony's digital media library are no longer able to access these films in their library anymore.
And this is exactly what I'm talking about. This is why we have to have physical media, because these companies can do it and then they're just like, oopsie poopsie, sorry about it. Like when I purchased years and years and years ago when Blu-rays like basically first came out, I bought a bunch of the Harry Potter Blu-rays and there was a digital version that you could download. And so I went to do it like probably 2 or 3 years later after I bought it, and they were like, and you paid like extra. They had like the regular Blu-ray version, then you paid like an additional like $5 for the thing that had the digital download. And so when I went to do it, it was like, oh, the license for this movie has expired. Like you can't download it now. And I'm like, so I paid extra money for nothing.
Well, that's kind of two separate things. The first thing is like digital downloads, where if you look on the code, it says like expires on this date. So like I know, for example, I was just putting up some of my Blu-rays up here on my bookshelf, and I was looking at my Inception Blu-ray, and it has a digital download, and it's like this expires like August 2011. So like that's long gone, right? No way I'm getting that digital download. But even when you buy something on, let's say, the Amazon storefront, and you like buy it to own.
Yeah.
When you buy that and you spend like $15-20 on that movie, you're not actually buying the file. You're buying a license to play the digital file.
Yeah.
And in the terms and conditions of Amazon, it says like we can revoke this at any time that we want.
Yeah, which is garbage.
So it's not like you're actually buying the movie at all. You're just buying the permission to stream it from Amazon servers at any time you want.
Right.
And that's very tough.
Shitty.
So I think the other thing, in addition to secondhand use in games, is just preservation. Talking about lost media, games is a medium that is very difficult to preserve in terms of like, what was the original version of this game like? I mean, with these forever games, like even Fortnite, you can't play Fortnite as it existed when it first dropped.
Right. Just doesn't exist anymore.
Exactly. So it's it's an interesting question, I think, and I don't think we have like a solid answer of how to solve this problem.
I bet that there are people out there, and I bet there's a community that I just am like totally ignorant of, that like probably ports versions of games and saves them somewhere so that they could be revisited. So I'm sure that exists somewhere. Like I'm sure on Reddit you could probably find a link to some website where a group of people have like ported versions of games like Fortnite at their various like manifestations, I guess is the word for it.
To some extent, yes, and that's like the emulation community would be what that's called. So like they'll emulate it on other hardware, and this is especially for retro games where the hardware is either very difficult to find or not available anymore. So there is like a huge emulation community, but with stuff like Fortnite, that's inherently tied to the multiplayer servers, right? So like that's not as simple as just emulating the software, because you also need the servers to host other players, because Fortnite is like an always online multiplayer game.
Okay.
So that adds an additional layer of complexity to it. But yeah, that community does exist. But of course, it's like people who are working in their own free time, and they are not capturing every game, So it reminds me of like the silent film era. People just we don't have the capability at this moment to really capture those games.
Yeah. Remember how I told you I got really into that city builder game, City Skylines?
Mm-hmm.
That's over.
Gamer card revoked.
I guess it was just like taking up a lot of my free time. Like a lot. I would say I probably spent like 65 hours playing it.
Just like in general, or like how?
Yeah, like over like a month of time, I spent like 65 hours playing it. That's a lot.
Those are rookie numbers.
Okay, well, it was a lot to me, and I was like, this is crazy. I'm like, I can't be putting so much work into this like intangible thing that doesn't really exist.
Yeah, I feel that.
But it was enjoyable, and I do have it, so I could go back and, play it anytime I like. And I like the option to do that.
Maybe you burned out on it a little bit too early.
Yeah, I burned hot and
too fast. Yeah.
And maybe I flew a little too close to the sun.
Yeah.
What other idioms of this ilk can we come up with?
I don't know. That's it.
All right. Well, I think that's enough.
Okay, and that's enough on physical media. I think that the listeners get it. We're big fans. Next hot topic, Geoff, and this is, I would say, a big one.
I would say it's a huge one.
Beyoncé. Ever heard of her?
Who?
She just released her first new single in how long? Like 4 years?
Is it that long? It
can't
be
2
that
years,
long.
Because since Cowboy Carter. 2 years.
Yeah, I was going to say Cowboy Carter was not that long ago.
Her first single in 2 years, Morning Dew, DONK, which I have to say, love the title. This song was released in promotion of a re-release of B-Day, her second solo album, and begins a 60-day countdown to her next birthday and the reissue of B-Day, whose 20th anniversary is September 4th of this year. This song was produced by Beyoncé herself and Pharrell.
And The Dream, of course.
Well, it was written by The Dream, but not produced by The Dream.
Oh, excuse me.
You're the big Beyonce stan on the pod.
I am.
So I would love to get your take on this new Beyonce track.
When I first heard it, I said, was this one of the songs that didn't make it, onto like B-Day or maybe even self-titled? Because it has a lot of like similar bouncy R&B type of grooves to it. It reminds me of Destiny's Child. On the chorus, Beyonce loves to have like uncredited friends and, collaborators in the mix. And it sounds to me like Michelle Williams singing on the chorus of Donk, like as a backup singer. I love Michelle, and I feel like I recognize her voice easily. You know what? I actually do remember, though, that I heard this song a while ago. Because, like, in 2021, there was, like, this, I am a stan, as we've talked about.
As we've established.
But in 2021, there was, like, this leak of Beyonce, allegedly, according to her husband, Jay-Z, in an interview that he did, I believe it was with Katie Couric, like 6 or 7 years ago, he said that she has enough music in her, like, what do you call it?
Vault?
Yeah, sure. A vault. She has like a vault of music that's like enough to make like another 20 albums worth of music. So like she just has like thousands of songs that are like recorded and saved. And I know that she has like used some in the past and like completely reworked them. Like she's a true artist. She will like take an idea, get it out into the world, save it, and then she might go back through her files like years later and be like, there's something about this idea that could work for this project, and then she'll like take it and rework it. But anyways, like 4 or 5 years ago, there was like this leak of a bunch of her songs, and like some of them weren't complete. A lot of them were just demos.
Yeah.
And a lot of them were just snippets. And I do believe that a version of Donk was on this thing, because I have to look back in my Google Drive because I saved the thing on there somewhere. I'm going to look right now, actually.
Yeah, I mean, I liked the vibe of this song. It reminded me a little bit of like the vibe of Party off of 4, where it's very like laid back, we're chilling, poolside vibes.
Yeah, that's what you texted me, poolside vibes.
Yeah, and I also really enjoy just the word donk. It reminds me of like surfboard, a little bit of Beyonce being a little silly with it, which I feel like, especially with Act 1 and Act 2, Renaissance and Cowboy Carter, I mean, she's become such a big name and is like she puts out such serious art now that I feel like some of the silliness, although she did have the whole like there was a lot of good cowgirl stuff on Cowboy Carter for sure that was like a little bit silly.
Yeah.
But she definitely brings that energy on this song as well with Donk. Yeah, I'm vibing with it. I hope that she puts out maybe like a couple more B-sides from B-Day. Although it's unclear to me, like you said, whether or not this is like truly a B-side or if it was touched up. If there are any like new true recordings that went on to this song, or if this is like a real B-side or a demo that was just mastered differently, right? Very interesting.
Okay. I actually have some information about this, Justin.
Okay.
Donk is a song that was recorded during the sessions for her self-titled studio album in 2013.
Okay.
The song remained unreleased for over a decade before being officially released on July 4th, 2026 as the lead promotional single from the 20th anniversary edition of B-Day.
Awesome.
This is according to Beyonce.fandom.com.
Okay.
Because the song was registered on ASCAP in 2013 and was recorded on October 19th, 2013, according to the song's file name. Yes, okay, this is what I'm talking about. A snippet of the song leaked on Twitter in September 2021, and the full song leaked September 30th, 2023.
Gotcha.
Okay, so I didn't make this up. I was remembering correctly for once. Point for me.
Point for Geoff. And we are seeing, or at least I am seeing, that Donk was speculated to originally feature Nicki Minaj.
That would make sense.
Yeah, perhaps following, Nicki Minaj just gone through a bit of the ringer in the public sphere in the last few years.
It's crazy, though.
So not surprising to hear her not on the song, for sure.
I think people would be real mad if she was on the song.
Yeah.
I don't actually think Beyonce likes her very much either.
Yeah, but like in the self-titled era.
Oh, yeah. They collaborated for sure. Feel Myself, all that.
And one of the biggest rappers, I think, of that era, for sure.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, I mean, Nicki Minaj was featured on so many songs back then.
Yep.
They were doing that old school formula of like, okay, every pop song needs like a rap verse to like, for like cross-sectional interest.
Yeah, as Nikki said, 50K for a verse, no album out.
Right.
She was on everything.
That's pretty wild, actually. Can you imagine?
I mean,
Justin, let's write rap songs.
Oh yeah, famously you're so good at rapping.
Don't even bring it up on the pod. Please don't.
Okay, let's leave that one behind.
Yeah, we need a little mystery in our lives.
We look forward to the re-release of B-Day. We'll be following closely if any new songs are released.
It's going to be good. But I am kind of like, Miss Horse Lady, you better stop playing in our faces. I want your third act. I want it out, and I want the movie. Enough is enough.
Do you care to respond to the fact that there were no announcements for Act 3 on the multiple speculated dates that you have suggested on past episodes?
Well, Justin, I would love to address this on the pod because I do feel foolish. I do feel like I am the president of the Clown Brigade.
You're putting on clown makeup as we speak.
Painting myself as we speak, and I
putting on the red squeaky nose.
I'm disappointed. I feel like my sleuthing skills are absolute garbage, and everything that I thought I knew has been turned upside down.
Well, that's a bummer. Okay, let's move on to the next hot topic.
It sure is.
This one, curious to know whether you think this is a bummer, Geoff.
Okay.
Taylor Swift, Travis Kelce. Speaking of points, let's take one away from me because I was wrong. They did indeed get married at Madison Square Garden just this weekend.
They sure did.
My speculation was that this was a red herring.
A ruse.
This was a ruse to take away from their actual marriage, which of course was wrong. They did get married in Madison Square Garden to a crowd of around 1,000 people. Seems like every famous person you've ever heard of was invited to this wedding, except for, notably, Blake Lively.
Uh-oh.
I don't know if you heard about that.
I did not.
She was not photographed leaving or entering the wedding, and she was indeed photographed elsewhere in the country that weekend. So, seems like she was either not invited or rejected the invitation, which I find interesting. Geoff, any other thoughts about Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce's wedding? Not sure if you've read up on any of this.
I haven't really read up on it, but I would like to see the photos from it. I hope that they'll release them. I'm sure they'll probably like release them exclusively with like Vanity Fair people or some Harper's.
Or they'll do their own thing and just like put it on Instagram as like a whole dump, you know, like a specific.
I'd like to see it though. I also want to know what Beyonce wore to the wedding. I'm always curious because the Carters arrived in New York the day before, presumably for the wedding.
Yeah, I think there was some kind of NDA about not posting pictures, which is why the dress still has not been photographed, or at least the photographs have not been shared.
Well, I think the whole reason they wanted to have it in Madison Square Garden too is because it famously has very tight security, and it also has lots of secret, or well, I wouldn't really say secret. I mean, they're marked from the road, but there's like underground entrances so people can get in and out without being seen if they don't want to be.
Yeah, well, a lot of people were photographed going in and out.
Yeah, I think a lot of people also wanted to be photographed going in and out. They want to be tied to Taylor Swift. They want to be in the headlines. It's good for their branding to be friends with her. I mean, she's probably the most famous person in the world.
Yeah, I mean, clearly she shut down the city of New York for her wedding. I mean, it's a little crazy to me. It's just it's a lot.
So what did happen? Did they shut down like the blocks around Madison Square Garden, or what was the deal?
There was very tight security surrounding Madison Square Garden. The billboards around MSG said like congrats. Taylor and Travis. There was also on the metro or on the subway, there were some signs that said just and T. So like with the T and just plus T for Taylor and Travis. Just and T married, which I thought was curious. And this was like on the subway. Married? Yeah.
Okay.
Because like Travis and Taylor, T and T.
I don't like that. It's just like a weird idea. It just doesn't really make sense either.
It doesn't flow. Doesn't flow. No. Curious how they came up with that one.
Maybe they could have like taken the T and split it in the middle color wise and made it two colors or something. But they don't really have like colors associated with them necessarily, so that wouldn't really work. Anyway,
I don't know. It's an interesting idea. I mean, I guess like it's kind of like a royal wedding for America.
Yeah. I watched the royal wedding when I was in college. Did you ever watch it?
No.
I was going to say, I'm guessing you didn't.
You know, I'm not really a big fan of the royal family.
I know you're not, but I love like a big event, you know? Like I think that's part of what initially like drew me into like watching award shows, because when we were little it was like, you know, a lot of people watched them back then.
Yeah.
Now it's like no one watches the award shows. People just see the clips of like whatever moments went viral or whatever memes came out of it. But I always love that. And that's part of why I love the Super Bowl. Even though like I famously don't really know the rules of football, I just like love the camaraderie of being like, we're all experiencing this right now. Everyone's tuning in. Anything could happen. There's like an excitement level.
Yearning for monoculture. That's like your whole
I
thing.
am. Yeah, I really am. Damn. Well, congrats to T Swift and Travis Kelce.
Congrats.
Love that for them. We love love. Oh my God, Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce. And then we had Angela and Ivan getting engaged. And I want to shout out my dear, dear friend Hillary, who's also your friend, who is also a great listener to the pod.
Who wrote it in our mailbag episode.
Who wrote into the mailbag episode and did just get married. Or, sorry, not married. Did just get engaged in Italy in a very romantic public display.
Wow.
It was cute. I don't want to share the photos or the deets without her permission, but just want to say congrats, Hill.
Well, Geoff, let's take a quick break. And when we come back, we're going to talk about Madonna's latest album, Confessions 2.
Okay.
And we're back.
We're so back. And Justin, we are so ready to discuss a highly anticipated, I would say, album from pop icon, pop legend, The Blueprint, Madonna.
I would agree, Geoff. I'm quite excited to talk about this. This is the 15th studio album from pop legend. It's called Confessions 2. This is the sequel to her 2005 album Confessions on a Dance Floor, and it's her first album since 2019's Madam X. And I think important for the context of the album here, it's her first album with Warner since 2008's Hard Candy. She was on Island Records in between. So, like Confessions 1, this new album is largely produced by Stuart Price, who goes by a couple of different monikers. He also goes by The Thin White Duke and Jacques Leconte.
Like that. Good pronunciation, Justin.
And there is additional production from some other producers on this album, including Martin Garrix, Circuit,
like you love him,
and Andrew Watt. Yeah.
I don't really remember Watt, but I've heard of Parisi, and of course we know Martin Garrix.
Yeah, Martin Garrix, the child icon, headlined Ultra at 16.
Oh, I didn't know that.
You don't remember his classic 2016 song Animals?
I remember that song, but I just didn't know that he was 16.
Yeah, he was the youngest person ever to headline Ultra at the time.
Good for him.
Prodigy. Yeah.
So he's younger than us.
He's 30. Just turned 30 this year, I believe.
Baby.
He is a baby.
And you love Circuit.
Circuit is an underappreciated pop producer, I feel like, although he was only featured on one of the songs on this album, which I'm sure we'll get into, how these producers contributed to each individual songs as we go. But before we hop into this new album, Confessions 2, I wanted to ask you, Geoff, about your history with Madonna and her past discography. Obviously, she's been around for a very long time.
Of course. Before I was born, even. I was born in Madonna. Yeah, I mean, I don't know where to even begin. Well, I've already talked about that. She's like the blueprint for like female pop stardom.
Yeah.
Actually, just pop stardom, really. But like certainly was groundbreaking in the way that she worked in the world, presented herself, carried herself, was herself. She's never been interested in being like a sterilized girl next door kind of vibe. She always just did whatever she wanted to do. And I think that she provided a lot of freedom for other artists to do that came after her and continue to come. And she continues to do that I've actually been like kind of disgusted by like a lot of the rhetoric that's been going on around her, and specifically about her appearance and what she's wearing and stuff.
Yeah.
Like I've seen so many negative things being said on Instagram, on TikTok, Threads. I mean, social media is just like a dumpster fire anyway, but even some of the press coverage that I've seen, like by like professional journalists saying like, Madonna was wearing what do you guys think of this? She's wearing thigh-high leather boots and like a short skirt to go out to premiere her thing. And I'm like, are we still seriously doing this?
Yeah.
And are we still seriously doing this to Madonna in the year of our Lord 2026?
Yeah, Madonna, I mean, it would be an understatement to say that she is like a fascinating pop culture figure. I think that she is like you said, like she is the foundation for female pop stardom as we see it today, right? I think because her sexuality has always been a part of her appeal in a way that she was always unabashed about.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of discussion of that when she was younger, because she started her career very young as well in the 80s. And then as she got older, there was an evolving conversation surrounding like, what does it mean to be sexy into your like 40s/50s/60s,
Yeah.
right?
Because I think Confessions, she was in her 50s, right?
I think
Or
she was in her 40s.
late 40s?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because now she's 67.
Okay, yeah.
Confessions came out about 20 years ago. So she was
Yeah.
in her mid 40s.
She was 45, 46, 44.
I think that conversation has been evolving. And I think one of the frustrating things about Madonna's discography this decade is that it felt like she was chasing trends to try to stay relevant, right? I think that like a lot of those post Confessions albums featured a lot of like electronic producers. Like I think she worked with Diplo, she worked with like Martin Solveig, a lot of these like EDM producers that tried to keep her relevant. And like a lot of the song titles were like she had a song called Gangbang. It felt like she was trying to be Kesha at certain points.
Yeah.
It's kind of like a self-fulfilling prophecy, because I think that the same media and public perception of Madonna that kind of pushed her to stay young and stay relevant are now criticizing her for trying to stay relevant and to stay young, right? It's this interesting feedback loop. And I think some important context here with Confessions too is that Madonna, in interviews promoting this album, has since kind of criticized Island Records for those 3 albums that came out in between her album Hard Candy, which was her last one with Warner Brothers before this one, and now, right? Because she said that she would have to go to like songwriting camps, and that people didn't really, it seems like, and again, this is the impression that Madonna gives giving, it seems like they did not trust her to kind of write her own music and have an artistic vision and work with one producer. So instead of like treating her like an artist, they treated her kind of like a commodity or like an icon, right? To just like sell music. I think that leads me into like kind of my perception of Madonna, because I, as I always say on the pod, anything like before the year 2000, I'm like not super familiar with.
Yeah.
So like I'm of course like aware of Madonna's big hits, you know, like Vogue, Like a Virgin, Ray of Light. Like I recognize those songs, but I had never like listened to Madonna as an album artist until this new kind of like EDMified era of Madonna. And I think that most of those albums, with the exception of Confessions 1, were very disappointing. And it always just felt like she was trying to trend chase and stay up with the times. And it's hard to know how much of that is from the record label, how much of that is from Madonna herself, who may be feeling pressure from, again, this perception of her that you were just describing, to stay relevant and stay young. So I was not like the biggest fan of those 3 albums, although like Confessions as an album is like undeniable. Probably her best record of the last 20 years, like no question.
Yep, I agree.
But for that reason, when I saw that Confessions 2 was coming out, I wasn't like, oh my God, this is going to be like a game-changing album. My expectations were probably pretty low at first, and that was because of my experience with those other very EDM-heavy albums that she had put out this decade. So this leads me to my next question, Geoff, which is, what do you think of this new album, Confessions 2? Did it live up to any expectations you had? Does it live up to like her past discography, or is it more like her more recent, critically reviled discography?
I think it is far better than anything that she's produced in the last 20 years. I agree with you completely about that. I think that the rollout for this was really well done, well coordinated, very highly targeted. I know I mentioned that they were advertising on Grindr, which was very funny to me and still is, but like makes a lot of sense because the gay community is an enormous part of her fan base. And, you know, I think I said it was like borderline on pandery before. I don't know if I necessarily still feel that way. You know, I think that because this had such a huge rollout and I did see the advertising for it everywhere, it was like highly publicized. I had huge expectations for this album and really wanted it to be a 10 out of 10. And I think it was really good. Some of the songs were like perfectly serviceable, but not anything groundbreaking or particularly interesting. I think she had a couple of songs on it that were real highs for me. I think that she's only had like what I would consider to be like one real single from this album, one track on this album that I think is really single worthy. This is definitely an album artist. This is, you know, this is Madonna back to her like original sort of format, which was like she has a creative idea and she's like exploring it throughout the duration of the
Mhm.
album. So I think it's okay that it doesn't necessarily have a lot of singles or like standalone hits, maybe. But I think it maybe isn't as good as I had hoped that it was going to be. But I still very much liked it. And
Interesting.
I'm curious what you think about it. Did you have a similar experience?
Yeah, well, as a Madonna noob, my like I said, my expectations were kind of low because my experience of her music in like my lifetime has been pretty negative, right? So I didn't really know what to expect. For that reason, my expectations were kind of blown out of the water by the album. I think that
Hmm.
this is, if not as good as Renaissance, I think it is at least in the same conversation because
Yes.
I think that it is similar to Renaissance, mixed like a DJ mix, right? Like you
Hmm.
mentioned, it is clearly supposed to be consumed as an album, right? There are maybe
Yep.
some individual songs that can work as singles, but like clearly it's supposed to work as an album. Production wise, Stuart Price does an incredible job here. I didn't realize, so like thinking back, I didn't realize that he was the guy that produced Confessions 1. And I know of this guy because he kind of introduced me to the world of the remix. He remixed The Killer's Mr. Brightside, which was one of the first remixes that I ever downloaded, like back in the iTunes era of like MP3s.
Oh, wow.
And he's since remixed a whole bunch of like big pop songs. And I love his style because he just has such a great ear for hooks and kind of like sometimes repurposes vocals in a way that makes them into a hook that is a little bit different from what the original song is like. And these are often like 6 or 7 minute long remixes, right? He's a master of house music. So the fact that she came back to work with him for the first time since Confessions 1, I think is a huge just artistic success for Madonna. I think
Hmm.
that's a great decision on her part. I also think that it's clear that this follows many years of her trying to make a failed biopic. So, like,
Yeah.
this is another thing that's kind of in the background of this album is that she had tried to make a biopic film work, did not work. For a while, she was trying to make a biopic miniseries at Netflix, which also did not work. And it's clear in listening to this album, to me at least, that there's a lot of that energy on this album, right? There are songs where she's literally like recounting important moments from her life, like her
Yeah, like
origin
her New
story.
York, yeah, her like New York City like origins and like the people she hung out with. She talks about like Basquiat. She talks about Debbie Mazar.
Right, right. So there's that. And it doesn't feel like reheating the nachos or like reliving your glory days. It really feels like a meaningful and thoughtful look back,
Yeah, yeah, it's a retrospective.
in addition to being like a real testament to the power of dance music as escape, which I
Hmm.
think there is an important difference here between dance music as like a let's hear the hook, let's hear the drop, consumer focused product, as
Yeah,
opposed
yeah,
to dance culture, club culture
yes,
as like a means of escape from the things that are difficult in your life, right?
yeah, and I think that Confessions tune is homage to the latter. It's talking about like the importance of having the dance floor as like self-expression, as where culture happens, as where connection happens, where as where like erotic desire can occur, and contrasting that with like I think what you were kind of talking about earlier with like the stuff that came out when we were more conscious consumers of culture, where it was like corporate pop music, where it was like chasing the trend of like EDM.
Yeah, it was a corruption of club culture.
Yeah, and it wasn't about the connection and about sexual desire and eroticism and connection in the same way.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I think that that's why this album feels like a return to something for Madonna. It feels like
Yeah.
she's kind of putting on an old dress. She's cozying up in like in this thing that feels familiar to her, both Stuart Price's production style and just like this subject matter, right? Where she's not, it feels honest in a way that those other albums did not feel honest and didn't feel like Madonna.
Yes, this feels like when Carrie in like the newer version of In Just Like That puts on her iconic white tank top with the tutu ballerina tutu underneath, but it's like slightly reworked and it like is a totally obviously like a nod to the past, that past iconic outfit from the opening of Sex and the City, the television series.
Yeah.
But it like is reworked slightly and a little bit more modern and a little bit more age appropriate. And it's like To me, those are the same. Like what
Yeah.
Madonna's doing is what the only good part of And Just Like That.
Yeah, I mean, it feels like there were multiple times on the album where I was like, this reminds me a lot of Lady Gaga. And of course it does, because Lady
Yeah.
Gaga sounds exactly like Madonna, just a little bit modernized.
Well, I'm gonna have to disagree with you there, but
I'm not saying
there's
exactly
definitely like
like,
a common
I'm not
DNA.
saying exactly literally like what, but I mean,
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
like
yeah.
impossible to ignore the influence of Madonna on Lady Gaga's
Of
discography.
course.
Like, it just calls to mind that type of music in the same way that, like, let's just say, for example, Lady Gaga's newest song Runway, which came out on the Devil Wears Prada 2 soundtrack. Vogue was obviously like a big part of the Devil Wears Prada 1. And then, you know, Lady Gaga says, I'm going to make like a Madonna inflected pop track that sounds like it belongs on the Devil Wears Prada 2, but has like a modern production sensibility. So I make Runway, which feels a lot like if you made Vogue in 2026. And then there are songs in this album where, again, Madonna is like intentionally referencing her past work because
Yes.
she's literally telling the story of her own origins.
I was gonna say
That sounds like, again, it sounds like it could be featured on the Devil Wears Prada 2 soundtrack because it is her old work just slightly modernized for 2026.
Well, I'm gonna disagree a little bit with what you said about Runway, but I can understand where that's coming from for certain, and I definitely think there are commonalities. That was one of my favorite things about Confessions 2 was all of the self-referential sounds, lyrics. If people were going to in any way argue that she was not a legend, like all you have to do is like listen to this album and you can hear her like literally referencing and interpolating parts of her own fucking discography in this music now, which is pretty incredible.
Mm-hmm.
Not everybody can do that. Not everybody has enough works of art and enough recognizable works of art to do that.
I mean, there's quite a few like flex moments on this album that I think in less assured hands would be cringe, but Madonna has like the, I guess, the confidence and the assuredness to pull it off.
Madonna has never lacked confidence.
Thankfully.
Never, not even when she started.
Although it's like, it's fascinating because I do think that some of the songs on this album explicitly talk about how she felt kind of disenfranchised by her previous record deal. Is it Bring Your Love, the song with Sabrina Carpenter?
Yes.
Is like explicitly about how, you know, I think there's a line where it's like, don't get distracted by numbers. I am in this for the love or whatever, right?
Mm-hmm.
Actually, I think that's one of the worst songs on the album. But I think that clearly she does feel like this is a comeback for her. It seems like she feels as though she was sidelined in favor of the Suits, right? To try to make money in the last like decade or so. And that this is like a labor of love for her now. Like she really gets the energy of the dance floor and is not just trying to make pop music for pop music's sake anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not even to get into some of the more personal songs on the back half of the album. So I think that like the first maybe 2/3 of the album is very explicitly, again, like a dance floor record. It's structured like a DJ set. But then there's 4 songs at the end that are kind of like, each of them are individually about a different person. There's one about her late brother. There's one about her late stepmother. And there's one about her daughter. And each of those are like very personal. And there's also one kind of about herself, which is like, again, a retrospective and a different aspect. You know, the Lower East Side Girl is the final track on the album. And that's kind of a look back at her own youth. And those songs I think are like very touching. And also, you know, they kind of give more purpose to the dance floor songs.
Yeah.
In that she's like, these are the difficult things that I am dealing with. And it doesn't feel like champagne problems. It does feel like these are legitimate
they're issues,
universal, you know?
problems.
And they're universal problems that she makes personal to herself because, you know, they are very specific to her life, but you can sympathize with her, empathize with her. So it again kind of like emphasizes the value of the dance floor and how she as a person why she fell in love with the dance floor, right, in the first place.
Yeah.
It's kind of like the first time that me as somebody who's kind of a slightly younger millennial has seen Madonna as an actual artist and not just as like a pop musician, right? Because I think for so long she was just used as a symbol to try to sell music as opposed to a real artist and human that like has a perspective and has a philosophy about life. And I know that that's my ignorance as somebody who hasn't listened to her past albums, but it's great to see that coming back in this later part of her life, you know? And I've been trying to avoid like ageist comments because I think there's a lot of that in the atmosphere as you were referencing.
Yeah.
But I think that this album feels very honestly Madonna at 67. And that doesn't mean that it doesn't feel like she's not partying, right?
Yeah.
But it does feel like she's somebody who still loves the dance floor, gets it, and doesn't feel like she's trying to be younger than she is. You know,
Hmm.
it feels like she feels very assured in this place, which I think is a good place for her to be.
I agree. Well, I'm curious, Justin, if you have a couple of standout tracks that you want to talk about.
Sure. Well, there's a lot of standout tracks. I would say that I haven't talked about any like potential issues I have with the album. I would say it's a little bit long. I think there are some
Hmm.
tracks that I would cut, not because they're bad, but just because of the length of the album. But why don't we talk about one of the songs that we've already been referencing kind of repeatedly, which is, I actually don't know how to pronounce this because I know it's an old club in New York, but Danceteria,
Yeah, I think that's right.
this is the one where she kind of retells her origin story in the New York club scene in the 80s, which is
Yeah.
like really, really cool. This is the song that features production from Circuit. And I think you can really hear that in the back half where there's these like big synth stabs that kind of like mix up the production. There's like really fun references to other songs like Take a Walk on the Wild Side that she does in
Yeah,
the
the
middle of
Lou
it.
Reed thing. Yep.
So like it very much feels like a collage of the influences that kind of like got her to where she is today. And it feels like a scene out of a biopic. So like to me, the biopic influences felt really strong here. It's the first song on the album that feels like it could be its own thing. I think that the first 3 or 4 songs, I forget what track number Danceteria is. This is the first one that felt like a big wow for me on the track list, as opposed to kind of settling into this trance-like DJ set. What did you think of that one?
I love this song. I mean, I kind of already talked about why I liked it when we were
Mhm.
talking about the references. I really love the narrative form that this song took, which is kind of different than the rest of the album, except for those like last 4 kind of more intimate, I wouldn't say acoustic, but like slower paced songs that are not really part of the dance floor aspect of this album. Yeah, I mean, this song was great. It's definitely one of my favorite tracks as well.
Yeah, I also love just like, as somebody who, again, I'm like a total noob to like Madonna lore, doing a bit of the lore searching behind this one, like about how her first track, like her breakout was basically her first track. What was it? Everybody?
I don't know actually. There's Borderline, there's Starlight, there's Holiday. I don't know what her first big hit was.
Yeah, it's Everybody.
I don't think I know that song.
Yeah, it was her first big hit. And the way, like her origin story. So this explicitly tells her literal origin story because the DJ Mark Cummins, who's name dropped on this song, she literally gave him her song. He played it over one of his like disco tracks and it worked and people kept dancing. And that was why he was like, okay, this is like going to work as a single. And then he produced the song. They put it out together.
Hmm.
And that was like her breakout single off of her first self-titled album.
Huh.
It literally like verbatim tells that almost exact story on this track, which I thought was really cool and was fun for me to discover as somebody who didn't really know that history.
Wait, I want to talk about this. Bring Your Love. You said it's one of the worst songs on the album, so tell me more about that.
Yeah, in my opinion, it's one of the worst songs on the album. And I think that like Madonna walks the tightrope here of doing the Taylor Swift thing where she's like, I've had it really hard as an artist, even though I am one of the most powerful people and influential people in the world. And at times, I completely empathize with her. And I'm like, this is really difficult. Like I said, in the last like 4 or 5 songs on the album, where it's like these are personal issues that I feel like fame exacerbates, right? But in Bring Your Love, she's basically complaining about the fact that her record label isn't like letting her do what she wants to do. That they're trying to distract her with numbers, I think is the line in the song,
Mm-hmm.
and that she wants to do it for the love. And I just think that like the whole like Bring Your Love and the lyrics on the album are not necessarily like literature across the album, and that doesn't really matter because it's a dance album.
It's about the feeling.
They feel the most trite and kind of honestly cringe on Bring Your Love. Like to me, that's the reason why it's just not that successful. And I also don't really get the Sabrina Carpenter feature here, because if anybody is like savvy and like specifically business savvy about music, it's Sabrina Carpenter. So I don't really know what Sabrina, who also is not really a dance act, right? So like I don't really know what she's bringing here other than like Madonna kind of sees herself in her.
Mm-hmm.
And Madonna has these ad libs where she's like, speak on it, Sabrina. And I'm like, Sabrina, what issues with the record label deal have you been having? Because you've worked with the producers. Her last album, Man's Best Friend, was artist producer duo, and her and Jack Antonoff, right? The same kind of duo that Madonna worked on this album with Stuart Price. So like, I don't really understand, unless there's some behind the scenes stuff that I'm not gleaning here, what Sabrina Carpenter is bringing to this song spiritually. So like, on almost every level, it just is not working for me. And it's a little bit weird that this is a single. And I think the only reason it is because it has Sabrina Carpenter on it. And again, this is an album that I really, really like.
Yeah.
But like, every time I get to this song, I'm kind of just like, why is this here?
It's so interesting to say that, because this is definitely, it's not one of my favorites. So I actually agree with everything you said. But to me, because of the Sabrina Carpenter feature, because the lyrics are simple and easy, this to me is like obviously like why it was a single.
Yeah.
And this was the song I was talking about, where I was like, this is like, obviously there's only like one real lead single I can detect on this track, and it's definitely this. Yeah, I think that just overall the lyrics of this album are not super deep. They're not very complex ideas. Things are pretty literal and spelled out. And I do think that's okay, because most of the album does such a good job of creating like an environment and a through line that you don't really need it to have deep meaning, because it really, to me, is more about the feeling.
It's also like, if it hits, it hits. Like in Danceteria, where she says like, everybody get up and dance. I'm like, okay.
Yeah, I'm like,
it's just fun.
The boss.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay, tell me about another song that you really enjoyed on the album.
Okay, well, I want to get into a couple of your favorite songs soon, but
I'm responding.
I got a couple of ones that maybe like my personal bias. And I think that like a lot of these songs flow together so well that like a lot of it will just reveal what you like in music more than it is like what's objectively the best song or whatever.
Yeah.
But the song that like made me have that feeling sometimes listening to dance music, where you're like, you get a little bit of a goosebumps, like you kind of feel your heart rate going up, is Everything, which is this song that my intro references. This lyrically is a song that seems to be, it almost feels post-COVID, because she is basically saying like, nobody wants to go outside anymore, and I don't really fuck with that. But you could also read it as just being like, the kids aren't going to the club anymore.
Yeah.
This is what I mean when I say that it feels authentically Madonna, in that it feels like she's like, I love partying. I love being on the dance floor at the club, but also I'm old woman yelling at cloud, why aren't the kids clubbing anymore? Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
And I vibe with that hard. Like, I'm like, yes, people should be dancing. Why aren't the kids going to the club anymore? And then there's some additional production here by Parisi, who adds, I think, like this very electro housey drop, which is maybe the first time on the album where I had that feeling of like adrenaline, because I think the first like 4 or 5 songs are very like, not trance in terms of genre, but trance like in that it's entering you into this world. But that drop on Everything is the first time where I was like, okay, we're going horde for this one.
I love this song. The only thing I really don't like is it's not okay. I don't fuck with it.
It's not okay. I don't fuck with it.
You don't like that?
I don't like it.
That's so funny.
I think it's so, that part to me is so cringe. It's the delivery. It's not the actual words. It's just the delivery of it sounds like very like flat. Like, Madonna's not known for being an actor. I don't know if you've seen any movies that she's been in.
I haven't seen any of her performances, no.
I would say stick to the music in that regard. Patti LuPone once described her as a movie killer.
Okay, maybe this is a taste thing, I think, because for me it's like intentionally funny and silly, and that like adds to the appeal to me. I guess it's like, you could argue camp.
I do not think that. I think this was done with sincerity. I don't think that it was done like in a ha-ha winky kind of way.
Well, camp is kind of a larger conversation that we always touch up on these conversations. But I think part of the appeal of camp is that it's not intentional. It's just like a Madonna-ism to me. Like, it sounds like honest, and it is also funny, you know?
Madonna is, I think, very... I don't necessarily think that she's self-aware. And she's extremely confident.
Right.
And so that combination can go one of two ways in my experience. One is that they are just like kind of a little bit ridiculous, and it can be endearing. And that's
where I'm at. Right. That's where I'm at with this.
And yes, I think that this is the best version of that, because I think the other ways they become like a tyrannical kind of person.
Right.
You know?
Right. And it sounds like for you, just subjectively, this does not quite hit that like that sweet spot. For you, it's a little bit too on the side of cringe.
Yeah, it's a little too cringe for me, I think.
Okay. So why don't you talk about a song that did really hit for you? What was a couple of your favorite songs on the album?
I really enjoyed Love Sensation.
Oh, interesting.
Oh, you didn't like that one?
Well, go tell me why you like it.
I don't know. I just did.
Clearly left a mark. The reason I said interesting is because, again, these are not songs that I didn't like or that I thought were bad. I think that Love Sensation and Love Without Words, that kind of two for tracks 8 and 9, are both songs that you could have just cut from the track list, and it would have been like not that noticeable that they were gone.
Oh, one thing that I liked about this is like the sing talking that's on this entire song.
Yeah.
Like this is one of the songs where there's like no real singing except for the Love Sensation part. And the rest of it's just kind of like sing talk, almost rapping. It reminds me of like Blondie. Like Debbie Harry kind of stuff.
If there's a Blondie comp to be made, you're going to like the song.
That's very true.
Yeah.
Yeah, I liked this. And I thought that it had like a nice build into
Love Without Words.
Yeah, Love Without Words.
Yeah.
Yes, you described it as a twofer. Did I hear you say
Yeah, I mean,
that?
those...
Yeah, they're like a good pair. Like yin and yang.
Yeah, they feel like a pairing to me because everything is like one vibe, and then Love Selection and Love Without Words both seem of a kind with each other.
Of a kind. Yeah, two birds of a feather, one might say. So I like that. And then another song that I liked was Fragile. Did you listen to this one?
Of course. This is the song that seems to be about her brother, her late brother.
Yeah, I really like that. And that to me felt a lot like a song that would have been on Confessions of the Dance Floor, the first one from 2005.
Yeah, it has that two-step UK garage type beat.
And
which
this
I like.
Is part of why I said, I wonder if Justin likes this. You're partial to that.
I kind of like that whole final act of the album, with the exception of the Stromae feature, which I feel like this is another one that I was like, I think could have. Do we need that?
Yeah, we didn't need it.
But I really like Fragile, and I also really like The Test, which is her song with her daughter, Lola Leon.
That one I did not care for.
I just feel like emotionally, even if sonically I'm not connecting super hard with those songs, these are like some of the most raw emotional songs for her. Like this is like real stuff that you want from... We have talked on the pod about how like pop music seems to be like a young person's game, but like losing your brother, who you had a contentious relationship with for long periods of your life.
Yeah.
The challenge of raising a daughter, a child, when you are so famous, and the challenges of keeping your child protected from that fame is something that you can't get into unless you're an older person, you know? And those are like genuinely novel angles and thoughts about fame that I feel like I haven't heard before. So like emotionally and just like from a interest perspective, Fragile and The Test are super cool songs, I think, just like at a base level. And the fact that she actually got her daughter to feature on The Test, I think is really cool.
Yeah, I would have really enjoyed it if she had a feature of her daughter going, Shakira, Shakira, I live in Paris? I fucking love it. Shakira, Shakira. I would have liked that. That would have been funny if she had taken like sound bites and turned it into like part of the song. Beyonce would have done something like that.
I feel like it's a bit
like Beyonce, are you happy to be in Paris?
It's a very heartfelt song. Like it's very sweet. And you want like Shakira on there?
Yeah, I think it'd be fun.
It'd be a totally different song.
But no, I'm not singing the song. I'm just saying I think it'd be fun if that's what she had done with Lourdes instead.
Okay. All right.
I think I would have enjoyed a comedic element on this album. Like I would have enjoyed it if Madonna had taken like clips of her throughout the years as like a jokey kind of like retrospective track.
This is a totally different vibe from what the album is.
I'm just thinking here out loud. I think it would be kind of interesting if she had taken like clips of her, you know, interviews in the media. Like she has some very iconic like one-liners in response. Have you ever watched any of her interviews?
I've definitely seen clips and stuff, but I'm not as familiar as you.
Madonna is highly entertaining. That's to me part of what I like about Madonna is she's extremely funny, but like in an acerbic sort of way, like very dry humor, I guess you could say, almost a British sense of humor. By the way, do we remember when Madonna had a British accent? I loved that.
There's a
shit.
lot of stuff. How about how she speaks Spanish on every single album as a woman who clearly does not speak Spanish?
That is so funny. I don't
She's
think I noticed
constantly
that.
singing in Spanish.
I heard the French for sure in this album several times, but I don't remember the Spanish.
Well, she has the song "Read My Lips" with Fade, who is like
Read
a
my
reggaeton
lips.
artist, and she speaks Spanish pretty consistently there, and she has in past, like La Isla Bonita, for example.
Oh, right. Hard to deny the Alejandro similarities there. Gotta give it to that. I do like the Spanish guitar on that song, Read My Lips.
It's an incredible like DJ
It's a very
set
good
moment
song.
where like the beat cuts out and like there's the incredible guitar sound,
Mhm.
and you're like, that's an interesting, like,
It sure
as
is.
a DJ set, it works so well. And that's why I feel like any kind of like overt comic element would have just broken that spell. But it's really fun to hear that, and you're like, ooh, that's interesting, and it keeps you interested, and then the kick comes back in, and that kick sound over those guitars just sounds so satisfying.
Yeah.
It's a really great production masterclass from Price. I think that he is just like the king of this shit, and I feel like I need to like dig deeper into his discography. Like, he also produced the dance era of the Killers. I think that they put out, I
Really?
forget what this dance album they put out was, but following him doing a remix of Mr. Brightside and When We Were Young, he produced an entire album of theirs, which was like one of my favorite The Killers albums. And I didn't
Interesting.
realize how deep his discography went, so I got to check it out.
I only knew him from, well, I didn't know that he had done Confessions on the Dance Floor, so that was news to me. But I knew him from working with Dua Lipa on Future Nostalgia.
Yeah, yep.
He did Levitating and Cool, and I think another one on her album.
There's two more songs that I want to touch on before we close here.
Okay, let's do it.
First one is Bizarre with Martin Garrix. This is the Martin Garrix produced song. I think that this is like firmly in like the subjective category, because I can imagine that there are some people that listen to this and they're like, this is easily the worst song on the album, right? If they're not into like this style of music. But Martin Garrix has really matured from like a big room house producer that makes stuff like Animals, which is like so in your face and kind of silly sounding, to an artist that is a lot more like an Eric Prydz, and he's transitioned almost fully into progressive house. And the drums on this track sound so much like Eric Prydz, just like this driving, growing, like epic sounding, I guess, like build into the chorus, which I think is like melodically one of the more interesting hooks on the album, is like Madonna saying Bizarre over kind of these like incredible drums.
Mm.
And then after the first chorus, you get the second chorus followed by a drop with this like epic lead, and you're like, okay, now we're at ultra. Like, now we're fist pumping, you know? And I understand that if that doesn't work for some people because of like the, you know, EDM influence, especially given Madonna's recent albums, I would totally understand that. But I feel like it's a little bit toned down, and it feels honest despite the influence there from like progressive house and like, I guess, quote unquote EDM. Did it work for you? Or
this song I didn't really love, but what I found interesting about it was the lyrical content, because it was very much a song about the, I've always thought, strange relationship and marriage that she had to Sean Penn. And so I was interested in it from that aspect only. I didn't really enjoy this song sonically. I thought it was like, all right, but it felt a little off to me. It felt like it didn't really work with the rest of the dance.
Very different from the rest of the album. Yeah. I didn't peg that it was a Sean Penn song, but I did think that the lyrics were kind of silly. Like the hook being, "Who knew love could be so bizarre," is like such a silly, meaningless line. It's like, what does that even mean? That it could, I don't know.
It is. Is it not?
But it feels more like a meaningless statement more than like a profound statement. Like, who knew love could be so bizarre? Like, everyone. That's kind of the thing about love. What are you
I don't really think
about?
that people think that until they've experienced it, you know?
Maybe.
But then you're like, oh yeah, it is.
The depth in that line. Okay.
Okay, but did you know about Madonna's marriage to Sean Penn?
I knew that they were married.
Okay.
And I know that Sean Penn's a fucking weirdo.
Yes.
So like, it's not surprising to me to hear that they had a strange relationship.
Yeah. She bought him like a Shelby Cobra, you know, legendary sports car. And so that's why she mentions it.
Oh, that's the reference.
Yeah. And I was like, oh, okay, this is interesting. Because like I would say like probably 2007 or 2006, I went on a Madonna deep dive following Confessions and was like very fascinated by her music, and I just consumed everything I could about her. I was just very fascinated by it. I became obsessed with like her first album and like Lucky Star, you know?
Yeah.
Starlight, stop bright. Anyways, I always thought this was very strange.
Final thing about Bizarre is that it does sound a lot like Eurythmics' Sweet Dreams.
Okay. I mean, in that it's very synth heavy, sure. But I
mean,
don't think it sounds like the rest
I think
of
the
it.
melodies are quite similar. And the drums, the drum pattern is almost the same. Yeah.
I need to listen to
not the vocal melody, the synth melody.
What?
You don't get the Eurythmics?
I only from like the sounds. Like it sounds like the heavy lead synthesizer. I'm not hearing it. It just literally is the same instrument or the same like noise sound.
Well, agree to disagree on that. Okay, and final song that I want to talk about is School. Do you have an opinion on School?
I have to listen to it because I don't remember. Hold on. Oh, yes, I do like this one. I was going to say this actually, in a way, don't skewer me, please. I'm just talking out loud. I'm just talking out loud, and I can be wrong.
Okay.
This almost reminds me of Charlie XCX, Brat. It reminds me of like that tail end part of Brat, and like also like 365, where it's like things are becoming a little bit distorted and out of control, and like
I know what you're saying.
It's like the end of the night, like that point where you're so like fucked and you're looking in the mirror and you're like, I gotta get home.
It's so funny
in the bathroom.
To me. Yes, I know exactly what you're talking about. And it's so funny to me how we both clue in on such different aspects of songs to make comps. Like to me, it's like such a totally different vibe than 365, but I know what you're saying. Everything feels a little bit like slippery in the production, right? It feels a little bit like it's fading in and out, right? The same way that things do in 365. But 365 is like a fucking rave weapon. It like blasts you in the face with its sounds. And I think part of what I like about School is that it's very kind of brooding. It feels dark. It feels like much more atmospheric, I think, than something like 365. Although I know exactly what you're making the comparison to in 365. I also think it's like a very sexy song.
Yeah.
It's almost like Madonna is being like a reluctant dominatrix on this song lyrically. She's saying like, I mean, obviously the vocal before the drop is School is in session. So you have Madonna playing this kind of like leadership role in the bedroom. But she's also saying like, the only thing I like more than teaching people stuff is learning stuff. And it's almost like she's like unsatisfied. She's looking for a man who can teach her something.
Yeah.
Right. So it's very sexy and also very like Madonna in that it plays with this sub-dom dynamics in a way that I think is like really interesting and cool. School is in session. And I agree. I think the sound of the song is like very slippery and strange and dark. And for that reason, it's one of my favorites on the album. It's just like really cool. And the vocal drop is so catchy. Like it gets stuck in my head. Yeah,
this is like a celebration like of the underside. This song.
Okay.
And that's sort of like what 365 feels like to me as well. So I think that's also like the current going through it.
Yeah, interesting. This song references the dance floor. School references the dance floor. Whereas I think 365 is like almost embodying the experience of being in like a club when you're too fucked up.
Yep.
And then I feel like School is more like what it feels like when you're on, like you're not too fucked up on School. Do you know what I mean? It feels more like pleasurable, I guess, on School.
Yes, I would say School is right. The song just before 365. School is a feeling that you have just before the feeling you experience on 365.
There we go.
That I think is what I am trying to convey with words.
Yeah. Any final thoughts on this album, Confessions 2 from Madonna?
I love the album art. This is very iconic to me. I love that she's like playing with that same kind of like lavender color scheme that she had during the Confessions era. And I like that in this one, she is still, being her provocative sexual self. But I kind of like the alluring aspect of it with like that veil. Like it feels like what's going on under here? I need to see a little bit more.
Very Bene Gesserit.
Very Bene Gesserit, yeah. There is like something very yeah, there's like a mystique about it, and it draws me in, and I'm very fascinated by that.
Yeah, there's a mysticism in it for sure.
100%. And yeah, I think it's one of the best album covers of the year for sure. I really enjoyed the album. Would love to see what I'm excited to see what Madonna does after this. It'll be really interesting.
Yeah, I mostly just feel happy that Madonna is feeling creatively fulfilled again, because like clearly some of the songs here are filled with resentment over what she sees as like a creative lull for herself over the past 20 years or so. So it's great to see her like really coming out and making a creative and artistic statement again.
Yeah.
Which is something that, again, I was like, almost for my entire life, she has been in those doldrums. So like to hear her come out, it's almost like it's a real return, right?
Yeah.
A great return to form for Madonna. Score wise, I think I would give this maybe like an 8.5.
That's what I was going to say, Justin. We're very in sync as of late.
It exceeded my expectations. I mean, it was a very fun album, really cool. I hope that she continues to like form these like meaningful creative partnerships with people like Stuart Price, because I think that this partnership has clearly paid dividends, and both here and on the original Confession. So yeah, keep it going. And also, record labels, trust your artists to like try to make an artistic statement rather than putting them into like songwriting camps just to make like radio playable singles, because this, I would take 10 albums like Confessions 2 over whatever singles came out during those last 10 years of Madonna's career,
or
anytime.
Madam X or MDNA.
MDNA, yeah, tough.
Yikes.
Tough. Okay, let's take a quick break, and we'll be right back soon to talk about our What's Goods.
Be right back. And we're back.
Geoff, we're so back, and what a fun conversation about an absolute legend, Madonna. We both really like Confessions too, so that's cool. That's cool.
It's good shit. Well, Justin, I know that there's other good shit, and I think it's that time of the pod where we should discuss it. What did you say?
I would say that, yeah.
Well, Justin, why don't you tell us a little bit about what's good with you this week?
Well, Geoff, I have a book to share this week, which I know you love.
Ooh.
I know you love reading.
I love to read.
This book is from one of my favorite authors. His name is Ray Naylor. Longtime listeners may remember that I featured another one of his books on What's Good a few years ago now. This new book is called Palaces of the Crow. It just came out this year. When I see Ray Naylor's putting out a new book, it's like an insta-buy for me. I'll like pre-order it at my local bookstore at Lost City Books. Shout out.
Pre-order.
So this book is a combination of historical and speculative fiction. It takes place in the 1940s in Russia, just after the German troops have invaded the Soviet Union. It features a crew, a cast of characters who are all stigmatized groups in Russia at this time. So there's somebody who's Romani, there's a couple of Jewish characters, and they all are affected and displaced by German invasion of USSR. And they're stuck basically in the forest in this area of the Soviet Union. While they're there, they kind of like rely on each other to survive. And they also rely on this super intelligent murder of crows. And this is where like the speculative fiction element comes in. One of the girls, who's the main character, forms like a relationship with these crows, and they start bringing her gifts, which is something that we actually see in real life, is that corvids, who are very intelligent creatures, can bring gifts to people who they like or who feed them a lot, right? So this is something that happens in real life. And the difference is that in this world, they seem to have formed some kind of society in the woods. And I won't spoil exactly to what extent they have, but much of the plot of this book is this group of children, and they're all like teenagers, are struggling to survive. And as they get into more and more dire circumstances, the ravens, or the crows in this case, help them out more and more and kind of draw them towards the center of the forest where the crows are keeping a secret. So I won't spoil what that is, but I will talk a little bit about the themes here, because Ray Naylor is somebody who has a pretty complicated background. He's done foreign aid work in many countries, including Eastern Europe, which is where a lot of his knowledge about this area of the world comes from.
Okay.
But he also has a pretty detailed knowledge about biology and like evolutionary biology theory. And the different books that make up this novel, so like, it's separated into 4 books, are named after foundational evolutionary biology texts, 2 of them written by Darwin. And it kind of addresses the inherent conflict between evolution as, when you think about it on like an individual by individual basis, and evolution when you think about communities of organisms. So I think that like what often is misunderstood about evolution is that, you know, your genes are the only thing that determine what makes you most fit for survival, right? Evolutionary fitness is only determined by your genes. And this is like the philosophy that underlies a lot of like pseudoscience and race science and stuff like this, right? Like
eugenics.
The only thing that matters is your genes. But I think like the underlying theme that Naylor proposes here is that equally important is the environment in which you exist in, right? Because what actually determines fitness is a relationship between your abilities and the context in which you live, right? Because survivability depends on how you survive. And in a community of individuals, those things change, right? The context in which you exist change. None of us exist in a vacuum where we're just trying to live off the land by ourselves, right? We're a social species the same way that crows are a social species. And even more intriguingly, it's not just within species, right? Because we have this dynamic in this book between the crows community and the human community. So it's this idea of mutual aid, which is not just an evolutionary biology idea, but also an idea in like the political spectrum about how helping each other can actually be beneficial and is actually a evolutionarily advantageous feature, is kindness. There's a great line in this book: there has never been a deeper reason for cruelty. Why would a deeper reason be necessary for kindness? So it presents this idea that the same way that I think like in popular culture, cruelty is seen as like a necessary outcome of evolution, of nature, but also kindness can be an inevitable outcome of nature, right? Nature is not as simple as just being kind or just being cruel. And I think that people often use these evolutionary biology ideas to kind of shill this idea that cruelty is the natural state of things, but that's just not true. So it's a really interesting book. It's one of my favorite of his. I would read anything he puts out. So definitely give it a read. It's called Palaces of the Crow by Ray Naylor.
Well, how lovely.
Well, Geoff, that's what's been good with me this week. I would love to know, other than Confessions 2, which it sounds like you enjoyed.
Very much.
I would love to know what else has been good with you this week.
Well, Justin, I have another album
Ooh.
that I know that you also like.
Okay.
And I emphasize you because that is the name of the album. And it's by Bauer. And it came out, I think, mid-June, right?
Yeah, I think like June 8th, if I remember right.
Okay.
Somewhere around there.
Well, so many people know Bauer from Harlem Shake, which was that huge viral song / video / challenge sensation back in like, oh my God, I think it must have been 2016. I think it was when we thought we might have our first female president.
It was 2012, even
oh,
earlier.
Shit. It was Obama era. Damn, that's crazy. Well, this song came out. Justin, I think you previously featured one of the tracks from this song as a What's Good, did you not?
You did, Geoff. It was one of your What's Goods.
Oh, was mine?
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God, I'm a genius. I just knew I'd love it. I said, I love this album. Okay, this album's great. It's perfect if you have ADHD because all the songs are very short. Everything is like a reference to past works that he's done or past songs that have been huge hits. I almost feel like it's like a sped up like drag queen side kind of mix, but with like really fun sunshiny house music.
I want you to, can you extrapolate a little bit more on that?
You know how drag mixes will often like they do interpolations or they'll like sample, just like straight up sample like clips from pop culture or clips from popular songs and then mix them into another and create like a new song out of it, do like a mix that way. You know what I mean? Like a lot of drag queens work with DJs to like come up with like their performance playlists.
Of course, yeah.
This kind of feels like it's one of those because there's a lot of samples, there's a lot of interpolations in the album. The songs are all pretty quick, so it's just like little bursts of sunshine. It almost feels like when you bite into like those what were those Skittles that they had that had like the like sour mix in the middle of them? Do you remember those?
Sour Skittles?
No, because the sour Skittles have like a coating. maybe it wasn't Skittles. There was like a candy that was like tropical flavors, and then when you bit into the middle of it, it's almost like Gusher, I guess you could say. This album's like musical gushers.
Okay, because
it's bright, sunshiny, fun house music, and you get it like quick, and then it's like on to the next track.
Yeah.
You know?
Mm-hmm.
That's sort of what I mean by an ADHD kind of a mix.
Sure.
Yeah, it's great. I think everyone should listen to it. It's really fun. Fun summer music. Great to drive to. Would love to drive to it.
Yeah.
I'll just quickly name a couple of my favorite songs on it. I love Better. I love Do You Want to Get Down? Perfect opening track for the album. Really sets the tone of what you should expect. Also love Supersonic. It's the 4th track. It's by far my favorite on the album. Summer Sound! Really great shit. Good, fun dance music inspired by disco, electronica, funk elements, and like little references to other songs and pop culture. Love it.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of this album. I have also been spinning it. I'm a big fan of Bauer. First of all, it's only like 36 minutes long, even though there's 16 tracks. So like fast. You said, these are like really quick songs. I do want to mention that there's a lot of break beats on this album, which I think is really cool. It feels very Fatboy Slim, very referential to, late 90s, early 2000s dance music, especially with all the piano riffs, like so summery sounding.
Yeah.
It reminds me so much of Fatboy Slim. And it's just cool to see like the trap boys from like the 2010s that used to make this huge bass music that was just like a little bit like funny and like silly even then. Now kind of like transitioning to house and other kind of, I guess, like older styles of dance music. Mm-hmm. I think that the sound design that a lot of these trap producers pioneered in the 2010s is like actually really valuable in this other style of music. There's a song Closer Together, which is track 9 on the album, that is like, again, one of those super summery, vibey songs at the beginning, but the drop is like hard. It's like, oh, this is like, this would blow the speakers up, if you will. And I think that like that duality is really fun and cool. So yeah, definitely also really love that album. It's a great like back-to-back double feature with Confessions too, because it's like a very simpatico in some ways, but very different vibes of dance music between the two albums. Confessions is very like long form house DJ mix, like you get into a trance, you're in this atmosphere. And then I think that You is super in your face, happy, maximalist dance music, where I feel like Confessions, as we mentioned when we talked about it earlier, is really like tempered, but in a good way. Feels mature, feels assured. And I feel like You is like so big in comparison. So it's a cool double feature.
An explosion of sound, if you will.
Sure.
All sound found dead.
All right, well, this has been a great episode, Geoff. Love chatting about Madonna with you. Next week, could you believe it? Award season is back. The Emmy nominations will be announced by the time that we put out an episode next week. So can't wait to chat about our predictions for this award season.
Well, until next time.
Until next time, Geoff.
Bye.
This has been Bants with Geoff and Justin. Bants is created and produced by Jeff Taylor and Justin Benavides. Graphic design by Geoff. Editing by me. The theme music for Bants is the track Nebraska With You by Sam Day and is provided by No Copyright Sounds. Email us at bantspod@gmail.com with any questions, recommendations, or just to say hi. If you like the podcast, rate and review us on Apple, Spotify, or YouTube. And tell your friends. Bye.
Bye.
It's not okay. I don't fuck with it.
And
Justin.
I'm completely normal. Oh, fuck. Sorry.
This is only the 102nd episode. It's not like we've done this a few times.
So dumb. Okay, go ahead. Or you just edit me out.
Yeah, I'll just edit yours out.
And I'm completely normal, Geoff.